Hey people, and today we're going to be making a 4-foot flower, because as you know, in the springtime the flowers wait a minute, it's not springtime, where is it? Where's it gone? Yes! It's my favorite time of year. Halloween. It's Halloween! It's Halloween! Yes! Hey people, and today we're going to be building a latex Halloween horror mask of Freddy Krueger. Not today, flower. Ooh, shiny. Right, so we're going to need a head form. That'll do just fine. Good boy, good boy. First things first, we're going to get some clay. So this is a non-toxic air drying moulding clay. It's water-based, so I'll be able to mix it with water. And now, time lapse. The sculpture is done. I hope you can see that. There it is. Side view. Top view. Other side. So basically, all we need to do now is apply some of this matte wax release agent so that the plaster doesn't stick. Hitting from different angles so we get in everywhere. And that's that. Okay, so what we've got here is some plaster of Paris. Just fine casting plaster. Nothing special. And you just mix it with water. So you put the water in first. You want to get it to the consistency of sort of milk. Just mix that in so we get it to the consistency of milk, just so it's liquidy enough to go around everything, but also not too liquidy that it'll just run straight off, which it will bead off, but don't worry about that because the second coat will take. This is just the print coat. We're just taking all the details from the sculpt with this layer. A little bit more in that. Notice I used just one hand, so that way my other hand is dry to go into the plaster. if I need some more. Okay, that feels about right. Apply the plaster now. There's nothing to this. It's just, you want to dribble it on like that. See how it beads off? That's the release agent doing its thing, but don't worry. The next coat will take, and you just plaster it on like that. Just like that. And get it into all those teeth there, all the cavities in the eyes. Oh, bit of a, okay, just like that. See how the second thicker coat sort of takes once it starts to dry a little bit. There we go. Now make sure I get into this nose cavity here, and I'm going to use a little brush because this clay has sort of gone off a bit, so you can push it around a bit. It's not too soft. I'll get a brush, just a small one. There we go. Just to get in there. That's it. Into the nose there. I'm just applying the plaster on to the sculpt until it's completely covered. And with this brush, I'm just going into those difficult areas. There we go, that's working out just fine. Okay. There we go. That little borderline there, that little fence I did around the sculpt comes in very, very handy, as you can see, because it's going nowhere. And all I'm doing is I'm just building up a nice layer of thickness around it for the strength of the mold, and I'm not losing any plaster in the process. Okay, so we're getting to the point now where it's getting thick enough. And what you want is a nice thick layer, about 1 or 2 inches thick overall. And basically what you want to do is you want to have the sculpture itself unrecognizable. And that means you're covering all the shapes, so you should be strong enough. But you don't want it too thick, because then it'll take forever for the latex to dry, because when this is flipped and emptied with that clay, this layer of plaster is the thickness. You put the latex in and then you dump it out and you let the latex dry from the inside out. And the thinner that is, the faster it'll dry, obviously, because it's getting more breathing through the plaster. But if it's not strong enough and it cracks on you, you can start all over again. Right, so that's all dry. It's been about, I'd say, 12 hours. I should leave it a bit longer, but I'm in a hurry because I need to wear this to go trick-or-treating. So all I'm going to do now is just take it off, flip it over, and take this out of here, like so. Oh, that looks good. I'll just take it off and... Oh, yes. That's pretty cool. Hello again. And then just take this out of there, like so, without damaging the plaster on the inside. So you want to get some sort of a wooden tool. Don't hack at it with that. And just very carefully Just take it out like that, bit by bit. This might take some time. Oh yeah, there we go. That's a good piece. Oh yeah. It's coming out. I'm glad those eyes came out, because I was worried about them. I knew the clay would be flexible, but that's resin eyeball, which I cast every time I have some resin left over. I cast them eyeballs in those little molds I made. They came out lovely, so hopefully the other one will come out as well, will it? Yes. There we go. I'll clean them off. They can fight another battle. Get that bit out the nose. And this mold is looking pretty good. Just get that bit out, clean it out, and we're ready to cast one. Right, so I got it cleaned out as nice as I could. And I've just put in some talcum powder and blown it out just to get it nice and smooth. That feels much better. And now all we've got here is some latex rubber. It's just the stuff you make masks out of. And all we do, it's not rocket science. You just pour it in like so. Just like to swirl it around into them ears there, so we get right into those cavities in the ears. There. Just fill it all the way to the top, like so. Oh, too much. And just let that sit for about 3 hours. Okay, so while I'm waiting for that mask to dry, I'm just gonna make the back of his head, because as you know, it only goes halfway. So I'm just gonna cover this Headley Lamar here with some kitchen foil. And then I'm gonna cover it in gaffer tape, just so I can make a back mold of his head. And this kitchen foil stops the gaffer tape from sticking to the head itself. There we go. I'll just cut that down the middle, and then I'll have half a head ready to go. There we go. Just cut that off. There we go. Perfect. Now we're going to have to create a pleat that allows this to curve around. So I'm going to reckon it's here and there. That should be plenty. Hands are shaking. And make sure you put those little lines in between so they match up when you cut them out of the sponge. Okay, so now that lies flat, that neck bit, and this should lie, no it doesn't. Okay, so we'll put a few more in. It doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter, this doesn't have to be perfect. We're just making a rough thing here, you'll see what I mean. Just so it lies flat, so the material you're making that out of is also flat, so it's got to be, yes, that'll do. That'll do just fine. I'll transfer that onto this sponge. This sponge is about 5mm, so I'll just transfer that to this and I'll get straight back to you. Okay, so we've got the pattern transferred and just cut them out. There we go. Last one done. Now all I do is I just glue them seams together like so. And as you can see, it goes back into its shape to the head form. Okay, so what I've got here is high strength contact adhesive. All I do is I just apply it onto each side like so. And then once it goes tacky, I just glue these two together. Right, so let's glue these together. Here we go. glue them together so they curve around. In fact, be better off putting it on the form itself, and that way it will curve around perfectly. Yes. Get those lines roughly right. Doesn't have to be perfect. As I said, this is just a rough back of the head. You won't even see this. It's just to hold the mask on the front so it doesn't fall off me. And this will create that full back of the head look if anybody ever sees the back of the head. Obviously, I'll go over this with some latex and give it some texture similar to the face, not as much detail, but when it's all put together it'll look seamless, because we're quite lucky. Freddy, he's got quite a rough complexion, so this should blend in with the other bits just fine. It's got to go on a bit of an angle there because it curves out onto the neck. Like that, like that, like that. As I said, if I was doing this properly, it would take much longer, but I'm just waiting for that to go off, that mask. And I've got about 3 hours, so I need to do this in that time. So that is basically it, as you can see. There we go. And then that mask fits onto there. I'll glue the mask onto that and then carry on there. And I've just got to figure out a way to get my head inside this. I'll probably split it at the back here or something, but there you have it. The shape of the head from the back, and when that pulls in like so, you won't see those funny little shapes. It'll be just perfect. Okay, so I've got my half a sponge head put on this other form, which has very flat ears, which helps with the situation there. The other one, Headley, had sticky out ears, so they were protruding too much, so that's fine. I just stuck them on roughly with some gaffer tape, and I'm going to use up this latex on the floor here. As you can see, it's still wet. I don't want it to go to waste, and this doesn't matter because it's got to look rough anyway, so I'm just applying this on. However it goes on, it's fine, just to give it some strength. I don't recommend doing it with the mask itself, but this is the back of the head, so you won't ever see it, and those little bits that have accumulated from the floor will look like his rough texture of his skin, so it'll be fine. Basically, we're just strengthening all these seams, and this first coat takes a long time to dry because the sponge is absorbing all the latex, but once it's dry, the second coat and third coat goes on and dries really, really quickly because there's nowhere for it to go because it's already dry. It doesn't seep in anymore. It just dries from the outside in. No use wasting this. It's just gonna dry on the floor and get thrown away, so we might as well use it. Right, so that's been about 3 hours now. Now all I'm gonna do is just dump this latex, oh that's heavy, into this bucket here. Trying to get it into the bucket, obviously, and not all over the floor. Drain that out nicely. As you can see, it's taken a good layer there, and then I'm going to turn it upside down onto this bucket here and let that drip and dry. Right, I transferred that latex into the can. That's drip drying. That's drying in front of the fire. Looks like a cool hat. It's just better to dry that way because then the neck folds down better. And then I've received this in the post, but unfortunately it's a little bit too clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dirty it up a bit. Just stand on it, dirty it up, and also I want to put some battle damage onto this hat because I want it to look old and tatty. Just with a wire brush, just making those edges fray. And while I'm doing that, I'll just dirty up this jumper on the floor like so it doesn't look too new, because he's been through a nightmare, literally. If you compare that there to there, that looks much better. Well, it looks much worse, which is the look we're after. Oh, that looks much better. Or worse. It's been about 8 or 10 hours, and it's quite warm in here, so it should be dry. It looks dry. A few places looks a bit, but it's okay, it's fine. And I'm just gonna pull it out carefully. Now, normally what I do is I put a bit of talcum powder in there so it doesn't stick to itself as I take it out, but I want this to stay very, very sticky, because I've got to glue it onto that back of the head there. So you put talcum powder on it, so when you take it off it doesn't stick to itself, but I'm just going to be careful so it doesn't stick to itself, and that way I won't have to clean it before I glue it to the back of the head. So just go carefully here, take my time. That's looking good. Just want to try and make sure it doesn't stick to itself. Oh, be careful. There we go. Oh, yes. Perfect. So now, what we've got is the back of the head. And all we do is we just glue that to that. We've got ourselves a full mask, like so. Oh, that's spot on. Not bad at all. Okay, so first of all, just got to put a peephole in to this mask right there. So I just flatten that out the best I can onto this piece of plastic. Get that centered right there, like so. And that's loud. There we go. Little peephole there. Do the other one. Done. Now I'll be able to see through it. Now I'll just go around the sides. Just some contact adhesive on that side and on the inside here. This has got to last one night while I go trick-or-treating, so it doesn't have to be super good. It doesn't have to be pretty. It has to be strong, but it's just got to last one night, and then just wait for that to go tacky and glue that on. Right, so the peepholes are perfect. It's all good. It fits perfectly. There's one thing that's not worked out, unfortunately, is this back piece that I made. I've tried to cut it and slice it and shape it. It's just not, when I put it on the back, what happens is it just pushes this out because it's bigger, thicker obviously, and it just looks wrong. So that is a no-go. Worth a try. So my plan B is to take the mask here and get this exercise band and glue that inside there and glue it inside there, and that should hold the mask on and cover a bit of my head and also stretch over my head when I'm trying to put it on. So if I just glue one on there and possibly up there, leave the neck exposed because I'm going to be wearing a scarf to cover up that joint, it should work out just fine. So I'll just do that and let's see how we get on, shall we? All right, Freddy? We'll be fine, don't worry. Okay, just glue that on as best we can so it's nice and flat there. Not like that, but flat, like so. That's good, that seems to be holding just fine. And one more up there, like so. I've made a little stand here, as you can see. So that's on there nicely, like that. And I've attached the elastics to the back. So that works just fine, and it comes off and on. Okay, it's not easy, but it's all right. Now what I've got here to paint it is rubber cement. Just put a little bit in there, just like that. And I've got some thinner, so it's thins it down. Now essentially what happens is the contact adhesive sticks to the latex. The thinner thins it down so you can paint it on easier. And the paint, now the paint, it's important that it's oil-based, oil, not acrylic. That colours it. So basically, you're just making this batch up of contact adhesive, thinner and cleaner. Mix that together, and then you add your oil-based paints. Very important that they're oil-based. And this goes off on the sculpture almost immediately, so don't hang about. Put it on and move along. A little bit of skin colour there, like so. Mix that in. A paintbrush now, I'm guessing that one will do it. And just apply it like you would any other old paint. Oh yes, and it's staying transparent, which gives it good skin texture. It's excellent. See how it dries almost immediately. So as I said, don't hang about. Paint it on and move along. I'll go all the way around that, and then I'll apply the next colour. I've got that first layer on. Now I've mixed some blue. Same technique, same mixture, just blue paint. Now let's see if I can cut this in just around those eyes there. Yep, that's okay. And the middle bit where I peep out, that will be like a black dot, like the middle of your eyes. Me looking out of them, it will cover it from the back side, so it'll look like it's black, and serving two purposes. One, looks like the middle of your eyes. Two, I'll be able to see in this baby. Don't worry if you go over the lines, because that's all going to be darkened like a dark black, so it blends into the eye, so all those wrinkles pop. We go. And on these teeth here, don't want them too white, because he's got nasty, rotten, yellowing teeth. So I'll just paint this with white first, and then I'll go over it with some yellow and make them look really rotten. That's cool. Good. Same mixture, just added the black. Now let's cut around these eyes so they look really sunken in. There we go, like that. Yes, that's good. Cool. And then inside the mouth here. And then when all these details are done, we'll be ready to go in with the red highlighting. And now for the fun stuff. Let's put some red in those cavities. That's going to really bring out all those sculpture lines I did to begin with. A lovely cavity in the nose there. Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Starting to look like something. Cool. And it's done. Hope you can see that. Close up, side view. All that's left to do now is try it on. Well guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've really enjoyed it. And like and subscribe, obviously, if you like it. And if you don't, that's fine, because I've enjoyed it. I hope you have too. And it's time now for me to go trick-or-treating.